Before we start chapter one, I just want to make a little disclaimer and say that everything that I am talking about in this video regarding Matilda Jerv's situations, so the current situation with the mistreatment of employees and also the like footprint situation that happened, I think, over the summer is alleged. I'm not saying it during the video, but it's all alleged. So please, just saying that just to protect myself because I'm just a little Marxist fashion girly and I don't have the money to be sued. So I'm just taking these examples to kind of show the bigger picture of an entire industry and how an entire industry um, kind of keeps repeating the same pattern when it comes to some behaviors. So I hope that you get that it is alleged about the situation because, uh, you know, I wasn't there and I kind of referred myself to articles and people's analysis and people's takes on the matter. Anyway, enjoy. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you're a revenant. Please consider subscribing if you like everything and anything about fashion, critical thinking, and yapping. Before I start this video, I first want to wish all of you a very happy holidays. I'm filming this on the 24th of December, so it's Christmas Eve here. And I'm just hoping that you all having lovely times, whatever you're celebrating, or if you're not, and that you're well surrounded, and that you are gearing up for 2025. That I hope is going to be more enlightening to you. Um, it's always weird to wish people that to have the best or to have um, like a great time, especially in the West, because we we live in countries that are actually really safe, but our safety is the result of the complete destruction and destabilization of countries in the global south. I'm hoping more people are gonna like join the cause and join, understand a bit more about dialectical politics and Marxism and the need to take down US hegemony and Western hegemony in general and to get rid of a system that just wants us dead for profit. So, today's video, I want to talk about the whole Matilda Djerf Avenue situation because I think it's a really nice way to kind of show how it is a symptom of a capitalistic, like sick society that we live in, that we end up having this type of people then being kind of abusive to their employees and disrespectful and all that. And I love to look at really kind of, tangible situation to try to kind of show people about how fucked up the whole situation is. And I think that the more you can actually see tangible things, the more people get to understand that, oh, yeah, something is actually up and we need to do something to really change it. So, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about is the whole Matilda Djerf and the Jeff Avenue situation. Because you know what, like, I know that a lot of people are kind of shocked and all that, but I was not shocked at all when this happened. I mean, when this was revealed, if anything, when you know what capitalism stands for and how it works, it's something to be expected. For this first chapter, I'm going to sum up the situation. A Swedish news outlet published this big article of former and current Jeff Avenue's employees talking about the mistreatment that they got from Matilda djerf. So, who is Matilda djerf? Matilda djerf, she's a Swedish fashion influencer who gained prominence like a few years ago for her very kind of laid back, slouchy, but slick style. I know her style is usually mentioned and coined as the Scandi style because, it's usually you wear like block collars and things that are a bit slouchy, and I don't know, it's a very kind of laid back style which has been coined as the Scandi style, and I think she's kind of the face of it. And she's also very much known for her hair because she has had the same haircut for many, many years. And it's a really kind of really nice haircut, very voluminous. And, she's this very cute, white, like petite, beautiful woman. And also, she's been known for her authenticity because she was very open about like how she was feeling, her body image.
Good morning. As you are all aware of, it is April, but I'm going to read you a little something that I wrote down in February, and it's what I call a thought starter. So, if you are dealing with anxiety, this one is for you. Am I in control, or is my anxiety in control? Is my anxiety doing me any good? And the last one is a little controversial because obviously anxiety, if you're going through it, it's never good. It's always really difficult. But these two kind of like questions actually really helped me, and they remind me that I am in control of my feelings and that my feelings are not me, and also that they're temporary. And I know I've said this before, but what I try to do is like I try to see my anxiety as clouds. They're there, I acknowledge them, but then they will also drift away slowly. They're temporary. Maybe this helps you, maybe it doesn't, but have a good day. I'm gonna drink my coffee now. Bye bye.
I think she used to have a YouTube channel where she would post on there, and or even on her Instagram, she would sometimes post about how she was kind of dealing with some kind of really really hard moment because of the way she looked or she felt and all that. So I think her authenticity has been like a driven element in her following, on top of being like conventionally attractive, being Scandinavian, being like fashionable and all that. um I think now she sits at around 4.5 million followers. And I think she grew also quite quickly when she got discovered on online. And so then later on with her boyfriend Rasmus, they decided to found Jeff Avenue, which is her like fashion brand. And Jeff Avenue has been quite successful since in its launch. Basically, for this Jeff Avenue brand, what she's releasing is basically like clothes that she loves to wear and she's been seen wearing over the years. And she's just making it as more sustainable, or whatnot. And because also she has like a very very kind of dedicated following. So it started off really, really, really well. And it's been doing like amazing because I know that every time I would read about Jeff Avenue, they would always talk about how successful it is, how it started off like so well, and how she has built an empire and all that. So Jeff Avenue was actually doing amazingly well. I just know that like the only big scandal that there was that I have followed through the internet about Jeff Avenue is this copyright like fruit pajama situation. So the situation was that so she has a like fruit collection. So it's basically a collection. I think it's pajamas and other tops and stuff. about, with fruit prints. And the thing is, with the copyright laws, which in the fashion realm is very kind of blurry, because a lot of the patterns, you can't really copyright them. I mean, it's a bit kind of weird. It's like, it's a discussion for another day. But yeah, copyright laws, like fruit patterns can't be copyrighted, meaning that when you put like a fruit pattern on your item, a clothing item, it's not patented. So you allowed to do that because it's not a copyrighted design. And so there's been, many fruit prints, tops, clothing items, and stuff like that. So Matilda is not the first one. These pajamas were very, very kind of bestseller. um there was this thing of, okay, so I don't know, there was a kind of a gatekeepy feeling that basically it was her design and nobody could actually do the same. And so on TikTok, some people, because she's a sustainable brand, and sustainability means that also your clothing items are gonna like cost more. I have a whole video on the subject, by the way, on why sustainable fashion is more expensive, because the whole process is also meant to be more sustainable, so people are paid fairer wages, and it means that it's going to be like pricier. And so people on TikTok, just like people do, they were showing like alternatives, dupes, lookalikes of those pajamas that they could find in sites such as Amazon, AliExpress, and all those sites that technically you should not consume on. But and so people were doing that. Some people were doing like reviews of it, and even buying like one from Amazon and the Matilda djerf one, and comparing them, and all that. And when people started doing that, basically what they realized is that they were getting like copyright claims, or having their video taken down, or like, or being not being sued, but they were contacted by Matilda djerf's uh legal firm, telling them that basically what they were doing was infringing on copyright laws, or whatever it was infringing on. And so people were kind of like finding it like kind of insane that she would strike down like small creators, because it was the creators that she and her like legal firm were going after, and not the people who were making those dupes. And people were saying like, talking about how kind of, weird it was to come after the small creators, especially that majority of them were not like talking badly on the item. They were just being like, okay, if you can't afford the Matilda djerf one, here are all the options that you can actually get for cheaper and still be part of the law. Which, in a society where trends comes and goes, and trends makes you feel part of a community, a lot of people want to also be part of like a moment, a phenomenon. But with the crippling economy situations that we've been living in for many years, a lot of us cannot afford sustainable brands. To allow those people to still take part in the the whole, moment, there were actually some dupes. And again, I'm gonna repeat it. The whole kind of footprints and stuff is not new. There's been footprints of different variation for many years. So Matilda djerf did not invent anything. And then it kind of brought up the whole discussion around dupes, but also like people were pointing out the hypocrisy of Matilda, because basically Matilda djerf, like Jeff Avenue, is her brand where she is releasing items that she loves to wear, but it's items that she's been seen wearing over the years. So it's items that she kind of take inspiration from other brands to make a dupe, or to make something very similar. So people were kind of calling this out and being like, but girl, basically you also doing the same, because the thing that you are actually selling are things that inspired from outfits or from clothes that you do own, and that you want to allow people to have a very similar style to you, so they can actually, remake an outfit that they liked where you were wearing like certain items. And so I know that people to um kind of spite her, they were like, oh, you know what, I'm not going to buy the Matilda Jeff one, I'm actually now going to buy like the Jeep. And I remember it was like a kind of big thing, because people were like, yeah, that's actually a very petty thing to go after small creators and not to go after the people who actually are making those kind of Jeeps in bulk. Because again, like, going after the individual and not the corporation is um kind of useless, and it kind of is hurting more the individual and not really changing anything. I think that if that's really like an issue, which it is, like jeeps are a massive issue, it's clearly that there's a loophole in the system that needs to be filled in and to be resolved, because like it's not okay that especially small creators and small designers are having their stuff completely stolen from them, and they can't really do anything because they don't really have the money to go after like bigger corporations that do have the money. And in general, I think that going after the individuals who even didn't really said anything bad, but they were just showing like, okay, there's this option, but there's also other options in a society where basically the whole system is failing so many of us. Anyways, and I think, yeah, Matilda, after like a few after the black backlash, she completely went off social media, and people were just like, wow, that's actually kind of insane. And to not really hear like constructive criticism, because people were just like, why are you tracking down my account where I didn't say anything bad? I was just showing like the different alternatives that people could actually go with if they don't have the money to pay for the Matilda Jeff one. And even like I think one of the girls who got like a strike was a girl who was literally raving about the pajamas and saying how great pajama wear, and that she would like rather tell people to invest in the Jeff Avenue's pajamas rather than buy like a Jeep on Amazon, which is not going to be the same quality wise, because she had like one Jeep and the real one, and she was really kind of, raving about it. And even her got like a strike, and I remember she was a bit kind of confused as to why she was being strike down, where basically she was even pushing people to invest in Matilda Jerv's one and not like the dupe one. So yeah, so now there's this new situation of basically Matilda Jeff is not as kind and as sweet as she appears to be. Turns out that she's, the very much girl boss stereotype. The girl boss stereotype is really this stereotype of this, there's this whole like girl boss, gaslight, and gatekeep. Gatekeep, girl, gaslight, girl boss. Or I don't remember the order of that, but it's one of like it's an order with the three words. Where there's this idea of being like kind of mean, and kind of the whole that you the boss. So now that you're on top, you can basically do what we're criticizing cis men to do, which is like being like a horrible person to your workers. Because apparently, like, yes, if it's true, if men do it, they don't really get called out that much because it's seen as normal for men to do it. But if women do, suddenly it's a problem, which, by the way, it's a problem in both sides. And there's a really huge problem with this idea to think that, well, because men could do it, women should be able to also be like horrible people. Because what about no one is a horrible person? So yes, there was that, and I think it has shattered like the image of not only Matilda but also Jeff Avenue as a whole, because Matilda has always given this vibe of being like this very open-minded, cute, cutesy, lovely, girly, who wouldn't even hurt a fly or whatever. And like pushing the very much sustainability aspect of her brand and all that. And the fact that now people are kind of realizing that, well, behind the scenes she was actually not that cute and not that nice. It's it's something that, especially that her brand was actually linked to herself. So Matilda Jeff is Jeff Avenue. Jeff Avenue is Matilda Jeff. And there's nothing wrong with being the face of your brand, but I think that when you are the face of the brand, people also assume that the brand that you have created represents you and all you kind of stands for. And if you stand for literally bullshit, well, people are going to see your brand for that as well. So I clearly it is shattering a couple of things from like this idealistic image that she had. And I think in general this idealistic image of what like brands those influences brands are really, I think it's important to really understand like how the behavior, such shitty behavior, is a result of a shitty system that do push people to behave in such like abhorrent ways in order to make it, because that's just what capitalism and neoliberalism stands for. This second chapter, I want to talk about how fashion, being a liberal field, is pushing people into being liberal themselves. Most fashion influencers are liberals, and for many years we were sold this idea that liberalism is actually left wing, that it's tolerance, it's this idea that everything is possible, that the system is working, that it wants to change the system. But if you paid attention over the years, like I did, you kind of realize that basically liberalism is not left wing. If anything, liberalism is right wing, but it's just the softest part of the right wing, which is going to be on some social issues regarding the West, mostly going to be tolerant around them. But it's more like this tolerance that they need to have in order to have people on board with liberalism. Because liberalism is, or what we call now neoliberalism, is the foundation of capitalism, one of the foundations of capitalism. Meaning that without capitalism, liberalism wouldn't exist. And I think you know by now that capitalism is evil. And you just need to look around you at what it is happening geopolitically, because like genocides are happening under liberal governments. The economic crisis and collapse is happening under liberalism. If anything, ever since the genocides in Palestine started, liberalism has shown its real face, its true face. Like, just look at the whole Kamala Harris campaign, presidential campaign, like the disastrous presidential campaign, where she decided that it was more important to try to cater to the moderate Republican rather than the leftists, because liberalism will always side with fascism when it needs to, because liberalism needs to make sure that the status quo is not disrupted. Look at what Macron did with the government, where basically instead of going with the will of the people, which would be like democracy, he decided that it would be better to side with the right wing and the fascists so he can actually maintain the status quo. Look at what's happening in Romania. In Romania, where they literally cancelled results because the one that was winning was left wing. I mean, it's just so kind of, the more you kind of realize that liberalism will always side with fascism and that liberalism is not left wing because liberalism is still part of the oligarchy, the more you understand that fashion, which is liberal, will also push people within its industry to act as complete scums. And the result of Matilda behaving the way she did, meaning apparently she was berating her employees. She had like private toilets that only favorite employees could use. And then one time, like a non approved person used that toilet. And so she asked an employee to scrub clean the entire toilet. And yeah, and she called like a model fat and said that they had to redo the shoot because she was too fat and they couldn't show that. Mind you, like, girly has like some really deep fat phobia internalized, because to kind of be like, yes, we are this very inclusive brand, but then when you do put your clothes on an inclusive person and you think that person is too fat, it's not worth showing because it still needs to be like perfect. Like, it's just, this idea, because liberalism is this idea of, oh, we really open minded, we actually really care about social issues, but deep down, when we kind of realize that we have the power and we have enough power, and we can actually, with that power, not only exert it onto other people, but that power can also bring in some profit, well, you're going to do it. Because the entire idea of liberalism is also this idea that when you create a brand, especially in a very competitive field, and you've been successful at it, like, fashion industry is a very competitive field, well, that since you are the creator, the founder of that brand, you are the one who needs to get all the praise. And this is something that happens all across the board, and not only in fashion but in other industries as well. This idea that the founder, the CEOs of some brands, um are the ones doing the work, and there's never any acknowledgement of the workers, because if you do acknowledge that the workers are actually the one making, like, running, helping the whole brand to be successful, to be run properly, and to keep going, well, how are you going to exploit them? And it's something that is actually so, not only baffling to me but so annoying to me when I see that, because this complete disregard of the workers is the reason why the workers are being paid literally pennies, and they're being asked to be grateful because they're working in a very competitive industry and they are so lucky to already be there, so they need to put up with every erratic behaviors and berating because, well, at least they lucky they're in the fashion industry. And it's something that for me is just kind of insane. I'm not even sorry, but Matilda Djerf brand wouldn't be this successful if it was not for her team, because Matilda Djerf brand has an entire communication team, e-com team, um, administration team. Like, she has like a whole team of people who needs to literally think things through in order to come up with ideas and to make those ideas into life, you know. And yes, Matilda has a following and she's lucky to have a really kind of dedicated following, so already having a following is helping. I related to individualism because this whole idea of thinking that because you created the brand and because you're now on the top, so you are the only one to be praised, because those people working for you should be just grateful when you need them more they need you. This is something that people need to understand, that companies, brands need us more than we need them. And it's something that needs to be understood. Yes, they can discard us very easily. And that's also why, like in the fashion industry, people are being exploited to the max, because there's this idea that it's such a like sought after industry, because everyone wants to be working in the fashion industry. I mean, everyone, people wants to be working in the fashion industry, and it's so saturated that if you manage to make it, you have to do you have to save your spot at all costs. And because of that, then people think that they need to accept all the really bad treatment, bad pay, bad work environment, and just bad consideration, because they're already so lucky that to be there. And this is such peak individualism. This idea that, okay, so now that you made it into this very competitive milieu and you in there, you only need to think about you and yourself. And if you need to walk over other people in order to save your spot, you need to do it, because other people, you know, they don't matter. It's only you. And I'm not against the idea that to put yourself first, but individualism has put us in a position where we're not thinking about us as we need to put ourselves first. We're thinking about how we can climb the corporate ladders so we gain as much power and we can become as evil as possible, because that's the only way we can survive. And again, like Matilda Djerf, yes, her and her boyfriend founded this brand, but still, her brand wouldn't be what it is without her workers. And the fact that she was mistreating them because she was seeing them as nothing, literally very below them, below her, that she thought that she could have this kind of behavior towards them, towards the very people who are actually making her brand to be successful, is very, 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 very symptomatic of capitalism and individualism, because it is actually asking you and pushing you in a way to be as, you know, horrible as possible and to kind of assert your power over others. A brand, a company cannot be run by just a one person. It's never going to be like just one person, because if that was the case, why does she have an entire team behind her? You know, it's because in order for a brand to be successful, a company to be successful, they need their workers. But because capitalism wants you to believe that the workers are worth nothing but they labor, because you just need to extract the labor, uh, and then kind of claim all the success of it. That's why workers are being treated like horribly. The thing is, capitalism wants you to believe that that's actually a good thing to do. That if you steal wages, it's actually a really courageous and necessary thing to do, because again, just like every other company in the fashion industry, fashion brands, they have investors, they have shareholders, and you always need to make those shareholders and those investors happy, because those people want to see like in return of investment. So they want to see money and they want to see more than they invested. So you're always going to put the feelings and the needs of the minority, like which is the shareholders, so the 1%, over the feelings of the majority, which is your workers, who are actually the one providing value to your brand, you know. And when you are in this mindset and you've been pushed into this mindset of, okay, now that you have people that have invested in your brand, you need to make sure that they keep investing. So you need to make sure that you have like the team that is growing the value of your brand and making sure that profit is coming in. Well, in order to do that, well, if you pushed and you believe that the only way is by being like a very bossy woman, to the point of being like completely unpleasant and horrible is the way to go, you're going to do that. And it's also because we still live in a capitalistic society that is pushing people to behave this way, because we've been kind of told indirectly that the only way to be successful is by asserting yourself and showing who is the boss, and showing that you can be as horrible and like careless to your workers as possible, as long as you are making money and you have become so rich that nobody can tell you anything. And it's really kind of, when I say that it's very symptomatic, Matilda Djerf is not the first and she's not the last of the influencer brands that happens to, or any brand. I'm saying influencer here because Matilda, she's an influencer, but it does not matter if she's an influencer or not. It's just symptomatic of a society that has been hammered in the head that capitalism and neoliberalism is the only sustainable way to survive. And in order to kind of be accepted and be kept in the industry that you work in, and especially when you're at the top of it, is by being horrible to your employees, horrible to the people who are actually making value and actually bringing in the profit for you and making the brand successful, because they don't matter. Your shareholders, your investors matter more, because in a capitalistic society, again, where everything is valued on economic capital, well, of course you're gonna take care more of your shareholders than you're gonna take care of your employees, because it's always like you need to make sure that the people who are giving you money are being, like, investing and giving you money, are being happy. So if it means that you're going to wreak havoc and make a horrible toxic workplace, then you go about it as, oh, so be it. As long as my investors are happy, I don't care if my employees are not. But please let me know, how is your brand gonna keep running if you keep doing that? Like, if we keep thinking that workers are just as disposable as we want, and we just don't care that if we need to fire them if they can't put up with this erratic behavior, and they've been ungrateful like brats, so we need to get rid of them, and we're just going to get the next one who's going to accept to put up with the whole thing, because at the end of the day, the shareholders are the ones who needs to be happy. Not only the shareholders, but the CEOs are the ones who needs to be happy, because they need to get the profit, and all the goal is to kind of make money. I know that Matilda has done some, like, on her stories, um like a video, uh an apology video, because this apology is literally like, I don't think, like, yeah, I think people are not really taking it at all. They not, first of all, it's just so funny because I watched the apology video, and the apology video, literally, she starts the video by sighing, like, and I'm just like, I don't know which PR team she went to, but I need this PR team to stop telling those influencers or like public people to sigh or to cry before the cameras, because it sounded like so kind of so scripted, so phony, that you're just like, do you really care? Also, for me, there's this idea that the reason why people like Matilda thought that she could have this behavior and not be completely, be untouchable, is because she was gaining so much power. And when I say power, I'm saying that she was making so much money and her brands were being so successful, and she relied on the fact that her employees should be grateful to be working for this successful brand that every girly wants to be part of, and to be working in a field, like in an industry that is really hard to get in, that nobody would actually say something. And turns out that former and current Jeff Avenue employees spoke out about basically this toxic work environment. And mind you, there were videos that they were making on their YouTube channel, and you would have looked at it, you thought that everything was actually so sweet and so nice and so, but behind the scene, and I think is also why we should stop glorifying like public people, because they are not on our side. Not only that, but it's just that you're always going to be disappointed the moment you're going to see that like the success and the money got into their heads, to the point that they then turn into these very neoliberal capitalistic monster. You're going to be disappointed, because what they're always showing to the people is a facade. And especially someone like Matilda, who whose entire brand revolved around herself. Of course, what was actually pushed on social media, and we know it on social media, is basically completely kind of fabricated in a way. I mean, it's you only see like glimpses of things. You don't see like everything. Like for example, even in my videos, like my videos, you only see like about an hour of my time in 24-hour days. And also, like, I don't post that regularly, so I post like once or twice a month now. So it's really kind of, those little glimpses can't give you an entire picture of who a person is. Like, you don't know me. Like, unless you're following me on other social media such as Instagram and Substack, and where I post mostly about my political views. No, I actually post mostly about my political views. So you know my political stances, but you don't really know me personally, And I think also the thing that I kind of exude, and I want people to kind of get from me, is the fact that I'm a very empathetic and a very caring person, and that I love life and I love humanity so much that I want people's condition to be bettered all around the globe. Because if I want my conditions to be bettered, I want everyone else to also be bettered, and I want like people to kind of understand that we need to unite, because it's not left versus right, it is up versus down, and we need to punch up and not to punch left, because we have more in common. And I feel like that I keep repeating this so many times, but we have more in common as the working people than we have with the ruling class. And influencers are people who aspire to get into the ruling class, and especially within the fashion influencers realm, fashion but beauty as well, but I'm talking mostly fashion because that's more like the realm that i'm I'm more familiar with, because I'm more into fashion. um it's just this idea that like it they those people, they want to be part of that very exclusive club. Because again, we live in a society that is telling you that if you make it into becoming super wealthy, even if it means to, walk over other people, wow, you're a great person, and I think it's time to see influencers, especially the ones who show very strong liberal views, liberal and conservatives. By the way, I don't talk about conservatives like here, but mind you, like this also applies to conservative people, because conservatives, it's just that conservatives are not as kind of, they're very overt about their intentions, and overt about basically not caring about other people, and overt about the idea that, yeah, they stealing wages and they making money, but who cares, like as long as they rich. But it also applies to them. It's just that liberals like to play pretend that they're caring for other people when basically they don't. They're very similar to conservatives. It's just that they don't say things out loud, and they might kind of maybe tell you that they do care about some social issues, but that's about it. But liberals and conservatives are the same, because like I say, liberalism is a French of right wing. But I think it's very, very important to kind of understand that influencers who see wants to make it in the industry. I think the moment that you see someone who wants to make it in the industry, without really being critical of the industry, stop glorifying them. Because first of all, the industry will never take dissent voices, because the moment that you shaking they like world order or world view, or just the functioning system, which is based on exploitation and theft, the moment that you someone who might, you're not gonna, you're being, they're making sure that they're literally stopping you. The moment that you represent a threat to the capitalistic interest, they're going to get rid of you. So I can understand people more so playing this game, but I just want people to stop glorifying influencers and glorifying celebrities, or glorifying anyone who then played into the imperialistic, capitalistic playbook. I think that the moment that you understand that those people might not be good people, you are not going to be shocked about learning that they were actually horrible people, about learning that they were actually berating their employees, that they were uh, stealing from their employees, that they weren't considering their employees, and they had this image of being like a very cute person, but turns out that they weren't. And it's so important to understand that fashion is a capitalistic venture. I don't know if much of the fashion industry is still doing it for the love of clothing, because the feeling that I have, since it's such a capitalistic venture, is that you can, if you're successful at it, you can make banks, you can really make a lot of money, and there's so many stories of, other fashion CEOs, fashion directors, creative directors being like horrible to their workers, because again, this idea that they're untouchable, that because they made it, they can now treat people below them like little nothing, um, little to nothing. It's really this, like, the more you pay attention to the fashion industry or any capitalistic industry, the more you understand that we are literally so doomed, because no industry currently is actually good. And especially like for a brand like Jeff Avenue, who also, claims to be sustainable. I think it's so important that people understand that sustainability does not only mean about, the material that you use, or the fact that it's more of a slow kind of production chain. It also means the way you treat your employees, and your employee in-house employees, and not necessarily just the employees like on other part of the globe where you actually manufacturing your clothing, but also the team that is actually holding the whole company down and making it run smoothly. Because otherwise, can you really claim to be sustainable if even your in-house employees are not living, you know I have to put up with a very toxic environment? How sustainable is that? I want people to understand that the fashion industry is a neoliberal capitalistic industry, which means that the moment that you get into it and the moment that you make it into the industry, it is expected of you to become a horrible person, because then you have to pledge your allegiance to your shareholders and not your workers. And if it means that asserting your power onto your workers and being a horrible person and creating a very toxic environment, so be it. And this is what this industry is actually pushing people to be, pushing people to be like very individualistic, that you need to think about all the money that you can make, you need to think about how you can be more successful, you need to think like all of that, and completely erasing the workers. So the moment you kind of understand that fashion is not a good industry is a moment where you're gonna also understand that, like, Matilda Djerf's behavior is not kind of like surprising behavior. If anything, it's very, very kind of symptomatic and very on brand with the industry, because that's what so many people do. Okay, people, so that is it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. What are your kind of takes on the matter, on the subject? That would be also interesting. I just wanted to just, like I said in the beginning, I wanted to show, like with a tangible example, how doomed our system is, to the point that it pushes people to act in horrendous way to stay on top and to stay successful, and that it's not an isolated case, and there's probably going to be like many others that are going to pop out, um as long as this system is still the default. And that, you know, since the system is actually not working and it's turning people into evil people, there's changes to be made. Clearly, changes need to be made. And I know that Matilda said, and I think they also like released a statement where they said that they want to, like going forward, they want to improve the whole and working environment, and like the whole kind of apology that Matilda did was actually, like I said, not well received. Also, like when you start uh, an apology with "if," you know, it's it means that you're not taking any accountability on your behavior. Because if you start with the "if," and it's like, if any of my employees or any people like felt this, please stop. Like it's really like a really bad apology when people start they um rhetoric this way, because you just know that they don't care. You just know that they're not taking any accountability. And I think now people are seeing right through that. But anyway, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It always helps me. Share it around. The more people, the better. And in the meantime, I'll see you in my next video. And I wish you a really, really happy new year. Love always.